Welcome to Skill Sprint with me, Chris Webber. This video is a quick highlight reel of my latest episode of the Commercial Edge podcast. I use my notes and scribbles from the full-length conversation to pull out what I feel are the headlines and lessons from my most recent expert guest. Drawing on my experience, this video gives you all the key points without the stories. My hope is that you can use these tips and tricks to unleash the power of your people. Just had a wonderful conversation with Kate Waterfall Hill, who is a coach, and we were talking about difficult discussions, difficult conversations, an issue which I think faces managers, leaders, and people all around business and all around industry. And we focused on one particular area, which was facilitating discussions between people where there's tension. And I love this topic because it isn't something that people deal with a lot. Imagine the situation. You've got a team, you've inherited a team, or you've got some colleagues that join the group, and then you start to notice tension between people. It can become uncomfortable. It can become, whenever you go to a meeting, you can see the eye rolling, you can notice the tutting potentially, the sighs, a little bit of gossip behind the scenes. We've all been in these situations. And it becomes really difficult for the whole team to function. It affects the culture of the team, it affects the morale of people and the way people engage. And what Kate's become really comfortable doing is facilitating a discussion between these two people so that they can reduce that tension, solve some problems, and get through it. And there's some really key tips in this episode that I think are really helpful for people to take away. So the structure of this meeting is about reflecting first of all, talking about your experience. So picking a topic, pick one topic, talk about your experience with the other person. Just speak for a maximum of 10 minutes. I noticed you did this. I saw you did that. I felt. Everything has to start with I, because it's about your point of view and how you felt and how things affected you. And then after 10 minutes, the other person gets to talk, not to answer, not to respond, but to talk about their point of view. I notice you do this. I notice you say that. I feel like this. Same thing. And through this process, the idea is that you start to share that point of view. You start to understand a little bit better. And one of the tips that Kate mentioned in the podcast is try and see 10% of what the other person sees. So that could be some facts that they've used. It could be some assumptions that they have. It doesn't really matter what it is, but take that time to try and understand, how did they come to this conclusion? What evidence do they use? What information are they using? And through that, you'll develop more empathy, more understanding of who they are. And Kate's seen this process work incredibly well. It's a way of getting people in a room to get the conflict out in the open, to move it from in the shadows, in the darkness, get it out into the open. And once it's out in the open, you can shine a light on it and you can allow people to discuss. So I asked her, okay, do you need positive intent in this? Do you need people to want to do this process? And she said, well, yeah, of course, it makes it easier if people want to resolve this problem. But as a manager or as a leader, if it's affecting the performance of your team, if it's affecting how your organization works, then maybe it's your responsibility to get them in the room. Maybe you say, I've noticed that there's a problem and we are going to discuss this, and you take responsibility for bringing people together. And don't start with the big issues. Find something where you feel that quite quickly you can get an alignment. And there's some research which was done, which was about people who have completely opposing points of view and trying to get them to find some alignment between themselves. And the answer is not to focus on the points of difference, but to focus on the things that they have in common. And part of the study was about sports teams who have a deadly rivalry. They're never going to agree. You are never going to get two sports fans who support different teams to agree which team is the best. But what they have in common? Shared passion for sport. They both love their teams. They both spend a lot of time and money on following their teams. They have shared experiences of where they've been and what they've seen. There is stuff in common, and those things in common can help build bridges to allow people to respect the other person's point of view. Try it. I think there's an awful lot there that people who are in leadership roles, who are dealing with tensions, can manage. And Kate's advice is difficult discussions, difficult conversations. They're just an opportunity to learn. Well, what could you do differently as a result of what you've just heard? Find me on LinkedIn and let me know. For more like this, and to join in the conversation, search the Commercial Edge podcast wherever you listen to your content. Want to unleash the power of your people? Subscribe to the newsletter, link below. See you soon.